Good evening, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Global Women Enrichment Podcast. We hope everyone had an enjoyable holiday, and we are back to bring you better and bigger and greater things in 2024. As you can see, we have a new person, beautiful smiling face in our midst. This is the lovely Naomi Blemur. Did I say it correctly?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much. Naomi is an influential leader known for her impactful work as an author, advocate, and entrepreneur. Her primary mission is to inspire individuals to embrace their divine calling and lead fulfilling lives. In other words, she's a boss lady. So instead of me reading all of this information about you, I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be amongst all of these boss ladies today and to share a little bit about me. There's so many things that I can say, but right now, I think back to that little girl, that indecisive little girl who didn't know what tomorrow hold, who was unsure of herself, who was unsure of her purpose and what she brought to the table. And I can say, I thank God that I am a confident woman who is looking to fight for not only myself, my generation, my little 7-year-old, and every woman and little girl that is out there looking at this right now. And so, in short, I am a fighter. I am a fighter. I am a believer. I truly hold tight to my faith. Everything that I put my hands to do, I trust and believe that there's purpose in it.
Beautiful. Okay. Any of you ladies have any question for Naomi?
Tell me about one of your books. Do you have a favorite one that you've authored?
So I have my first book, The Process to Purpose, where I take the reader through my journey of identifying what I believe is God's purpose for my life and how I went through that purpose and how I am manifesting that purpose. Because it's one thing for you to identify what you know you ought to be doing, but how do you build that courage, right? How do you build a support system and a strong infrastructure for you to deliver on that? And that's what you will find in The Process to Purpose. And I have another book that I've been working on for some time now, and I'm hoping that between 2024 and 2025, I will be able to release that one. And it's about the journeys of 50 different women.
Wow.
And so I'm not going to say my younger years, but in my younger years, I spent 2.5 years studying abroad. And during that time of studying abroad, I was in France, I was in Italy, and I was in Spain. And I would meet women from all walks of life. And they would share some of the most horrific experiences that they've had in their life. And at that moment, you would not believe that that woman had gone through that. And so this book is birthed out of that. It's a woman telling one specific story in her life and looking back at that story now, how would she encourage her younger self? And so for me, that is a generational book.
Yes.
It is something that we can leave to our girls and they can read it. And maybe some of them will go through the same thing. Maybe some of them will have family members, friends that may experience the same thing. They can go back to the book and gain strength, gain wisdom. You don't have to go through the same thing to know that that's not the way to go. You can learn from someone else's mistake or someone else's triumph. Some stories, I leave it up to the woman to decide what she wants to share. Some stories are triumphant. It's about overcoming. It's about being that boss lady. It's about saying, come hell or high waters, I'm going to make it. And so all of that put together, I believe, will be a book that transforms generations, specifically impacting women and girls.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For authors, do you discover that you want to be an author and so you start to build content, or do you discover I have content that I should put in a book form for somebody and be helpful? Or does it work both ways? What's been your experience?
I'll let you go first.
With me, what got me started is I had so many women coming up to me and saying, you need to write a book. You need to share that story. And I kept saying, nah, why? It's just a story. And then I would literally meet a random person, have a conversation, and they'd be like, do you have a book? I'm like, that's just a strange question to ask. And so for me, it came from the perspective of, yes, I've always written. I've been writing since I was a little kid, but the put a book together came from other women saying, can you just share this story and process of how you did what you did?
And for me, because I always loved reading in school, math was not my thing. Not that I wasn't good at math, I just preferred literature.
Yes.
So I would always read, and I always loved writing. I always loved writing. So it just dawned on me one day, why don't I put it into action?
Right.
So, and then I said to myself, but what am I going to write about? I don't really want to write about me, per se. So sitting in church and listening to different topics and speaking to different people, I just decided, and what was going on at the time, I just decided to write my first book, and it was Who Cheats More Than a Politician?
Oh, wow.
She has very provocative titles
Yes,
on her books.
not that politicians cheat. They are known for cheating, but the book is not about politician. It's about your next door neighbor could be cheating, your upstairs neighbor could be cheating, okay? But everybody focus on the politicians, but ordinary people cheat as well. Okay, so that that was the premise of my first book. And I have to tell you, writing is so what should I say? What's the word I'm looking for?
Therapeutic.
It's therapeutic, exactly, because I find that's the exact word. Because I found when I was writing the book, every time that I would feel a little down, I will take to writing, and it soothed my spirit. It's an amazing thing, So I'm on my third book now, and I also have my own publishing company, and I've been commissioned to write 2 books, but I haven't started yet because I don't have. I'm pressed for time, but sometime next year maybe. So
Excellent.
yeah.
What about you?
So, with full transparency, I was going through a severe depression at the time. I was in my early 30s. I had just left the position of my life as a banking center manager, and I felt that I was moving towards my purpose, but it had not yet manifested yet. And I remember literally sitting on my couch one day, and I heard an audible voice say, "Write." And I said to myself, "Right? What?" Like, literally pajamas, hair in a ponytail, that type of scenario. And I said, right, what would I be writing about? Like, for me, it was so strange. And I just took now I've always been a person who journals, always, as long as I can remember. I probably was journaling in elementary school. And I used to read a lot of Dear God, It's Margaret. And so those type of books always led me to kind of write my own Dear God. And then so I literally took a notepad that was next to me, and I began to write. I began to write exactly what I was feeling at that time. I began to write what purpose meant to me and how it was important for me to identify it and manifest it. And then long and behold, it was the process to purpose. And now I have learned that I am someone who is inspired to write. I just don't sit here and say, oh, I want to, no. There's a specific time frame where I get inspired, and at that time, I can spend 3 days, 4 days, and I'm just writing. And I'm just writing, and nonstop.
Exactly.
And the ideas just flow. And then when it was time to put the chapters together, the same way.
Exactly.
The same way. You can't explain it.
You can't explain it. Exactly.
And I always tell people that there's aspects to our humanity that cannot be explained.
Right.
I mean, it's just way bigger than us.
Yes.
However, as we live out this spiritual experience, right, in our humanity, we can share it with one another, and other people can say, you know what, I've had the same experience. Look at that. We call it deja vu and all of these other things, but it's really human life experience.
Right.
Everybody's going through it at their own pace.
Yes.
Yes.
With their own level of knowledge, and some happen to be more successful than others. And to the extent that an author can share information globally that someone else does not spend too much time in one space,
Right.
I think authors are one of God's greatest gifts.
Yes,
I
it is
really
a
do.
gift. It's a gift
I
of
really
writing.
do.
For real.
Well, I love the title that you chose, because as you were describing your own process, right? Like you had left banking and you're trying to figure out what is your purpose, and the writing brought you through the process to purpose, right? And so that's just, I love that.
Right.
The other thing that I think is really great is, as you were sharing with us, like, how you felt as a little girl, and how you feel now, in the generational book that you're writing with the 50 women, where you're having them look back. It's almost like your own life.
Right.
So it's great.
It's a beautiful thing, but I know Laura said I write provocative books, but I have the antidote, the best me.
Oh.
Yes,
Tell me about that.
The best, the best me is about the best me. Being my best self in every aspect of life, from a daughter, a sibling, a spouse, a friend, a professionally speaking, a good worker, being the best as to my direct reports. All of those great things. And then what was so interesting is when I had my book signing for that, a lady brought her daughter, and she said she bought the book in advance, and then it was so good, she went back and she bought one for her daughter, because something I had said in there had touched her, because I talked about growing up when it was so many of us, and we didn't even have, if you have a soda, it was a privilege, because, it was 8 of us. So maybe there was not 8 sodas in the house, looking back.
Yeah.
So it was a privilege to enjoy. So she wanted her daughter to be humble and be appreciative of what she has. And then that was the Saturday. The Monday I went to work, a coworker came up to me and she said, I read the book and I want my daughter to read it. Had the same situation. So it's very inspiring when you do something and people come to you. I had a book signing internationally. I was invited, and because they had this big book fair and they had different authors, so I was privileged to have the 2 books at the same time. And one guy came and he saw the books and he's like, I'm tired of these politicians. I don't want that. And then I told him, no, it's not about the politician. And then he bought that and he bought the best me. Another lady came, she bought the best me. She went home, she came back, and she bought one for her mom. So those are the little things that encourage you to tell your story and to do what you can for humanity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're talking about how people bought your books. What if somebody wanted to buy your book? How would they buy it?
So, believe it or not, the first book, The Process to Purpose, is sold out. I have written an additional chapter that's coming out shortly, and everyone will be able to buy it everywhere where books are sold.
Okay.
And so I definitely will be putting it out there. I will be doing a tour. I recently ran statewide, and so I really want to be able to give back in that way, and just share my story, because when you're running for office,
Yes, I was getting to that.
when you're running for office, people get a snapshot of you. They don't really know who you are.
Right.
And then I think that if you have the opportunity to share something meaningful that can really impact the lives of these people, and in my case, we're talking about over 3 million people who voted for me statewide. And so I definitely want to be able to share my story with them and really give something valuable that can possibly transform their lives.
Okay, we haven't heard from Sandra.
Well, Angie got us started on the authoring, so it's a beautiful time to segue into running for office. Can you share that story with us a little bit?
So never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would be running for office. I'm more of a black and white kind of person. It's either the glass is half full or it's half empty. By trade, I'm an accountant. So, I'm a numbers kind of girl. And so for me, politics just is too much gray, right? Nevertheless, I had one of the most traumatic experiences in my own personal life that really propelled me to say that you must do this. And again, inspiration.
Yes.
Inspiration. 1 out of every 4 women in the United States has a loved one serving time in state or federal prison. And I was one of them. And at the time, I truly wanted to understand, why was I experiencing this and how can I give back? And when I understood the experience of Floridians and what they were going through, and this particular seat that I was running for and how it connected to my grandmother, I truly saw divine purpose. I really did. And, being the boss lady, I said, listen, what are you going to do? Are you going to saddle down and say, woe is me? Or you're going to put on your big girl underwear on and make this happen? And I decided to put on my big girl underwears, and I made it happen. And for me, it was a defining moment in my life, in my 40s, that my purpose and who I am cannot be stopped by any life event.
Yes.
Cannot.
Beautiful.
It can only be hindered or slowed down by my own decisions. And I manifested that. And for me, even if I never run again, which I am, I just felt that I did that. I did that. And no one can take that away from me.
Yeah.
And I would be on the campaign trail. Young girls of all ages, women of all ages, of all different backgrounds, they just saw something in me that I have room to become, but now they were saying it to me.
Yes.
Right? When you work on your self-development and you invest in your self-development, you know that you are carrying value.
Yes.
That's right.
But when someone else looks at you and they say, oh man, you touched me. Oh man, I am so happy to have met you. This session today transformed my life. This session today impacted me. You know that it was all not in vain. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it together has made you the woman that you are today.
Yes.
And it is valuable.
Right.
Yes.
It is valuable.
Yes, well, and you talk about you're being inspired, and through what you're doing, you're inspiring them.
Yes.
I think our listeners need to have you repeat that. Not all of what you said. The point of everything we go through is a part of the process to purpose. That nothing is wasted. That God is not sleeping and something is happening to me. But that all of this is orchestrated in His divine plan of purpose for our lives. And that even if something untoward happens that we're thinking God didn't ordain that, He can take it and turn it into good to get us to the place where He wants us to be. So I want you to say that to our audience so that we can encourage them. No, that's my way of saying it. I want her to say it in her beautiful way.
I love your question because one of my life proverbs, and it's scripturally based, it is all things work together for good,
Yes.
for them that love God, for them that are called according to His purpose. I have made it my mantra because I have come to the understanding, having lost my father at 16, my mother at 18, God is not some, monster just hiding behind the drapes and looking to dump a whole bunch of garbage in your life and then looking, how she's going to figure it out. No, He's a loving Father.
Yes.
And there are things that happen in your life, they are circumstantial. There are things that happen in your life, they are your own decisions. But everything is going to work together for your good. It is going to mold, build, and cause you to be the man or the woman that God has called you to be.
That is correct.
And when you step on a platform and you open your mouth, the wisdom that you will carry. I mean, no TV show, no song, no classroom
Right.
could have ever given that to you.
Right.
And that is what hits people's soul. That is what caused the person to leave the event, the summit, the conference one way, and come in one way and leave a different way.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, you can't pay for that.
Right.
You can't pay for that. And I truly believe that's what I have. That's what I have. I have an authentic experience with life that cannot be diluted.
Yes,
And when I
ma'am.
open my mouth, I will speak to that person and I will meet them wherever they are.
That is absolutely correct. And I know, listen, okay. Now, I'm just thinking that I had a decision to make, and I think I already made it. So with the other ladies. But anyways, don't be looking at me. We have an audience, but anyways. The other thing I was going to ask you, I know, do you still have your nonprofit organizations?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about them.
So I am the co-founder of Balance in Life. It is a nonprofit organization located in North Miami to assist individuals to balance 4 aspects of their lives: their spirituality, their education, their finance, and their emotions. I don't believe that a college education is going to make you successful alone.
Right.
Right.
I don't believe that.
Completely agree.
I do not believe having a great inheritance and being able to buy whatever you want in life, right, is going to make you successful. I believe it is a holistic approach to life, right, beginning with your own spirituality that leads you or that places you on a path to success and guides you. Because that spiritual compass, if you will, is going to be what sustains you throughout everything you will experience. And you find that people who are very well off, emotionally, spiritually, if that is off, I mean, when we talk about emotions, we're talking about family, we're talking about relationship with brothers and sisters, mother and father. If that is not together, the person is miserable.
That's right.
They can't even enjoy the money, right? And so, although it was not my concept, it is my husband's concept, Naomi Blemur. I, after marrying him, really bought into it. I drank the Kool-Aid. And I have literally transformed my own life through it, understanding that as a public servant, you still need money.
Yes.
You know, you need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to ensure that you invest, especially as a woman, right? You need to build a future for yourself, and to the extent that you're blessed to have children, to be able to pass that on. And so for me, I literally approach life through balance in life. So spirituality is important. My finances is very important. I wanna be able to own mine. I've always been a hard worker, but now I wanna be able to build generational wealth, and I wanna be able to teach that to my son.
Yes.
And of course, emotions. Mental health is extremely important. You need to take time out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you could only give to somebody what you have. If you do not have it, listen, you're pouring out of an empty cup. And you're really doing the person a disservice, because you're extending hope that you have something, and when the person is ready to receive, you're empty. So for me, mental health, emotional balance is very important. How you feel inside, how you process what you've gone through. You understand? Some things were not your fault, but you still got to deal with it.
That's right.
You still have to go through that revisiting.
Yes.
You know, you need to get on someone's couch. It may not be for a whole year, but just for 6 months. It is a part of life. And so balancing life is thriving. I do believe at one point in our life, it will be a full ministry with a brick and mortar that would offer all of these services to our community. But for right now, it has really been a community affair and just giving people knowledge.
Yes.
Giving people knowledge, and to the extent that you can make a better decision, right? And that you can actually transform your own life and not waiting for someone to come and save you, right? Because we know that's not happening.
Right.
I think that we have been extremely impactful in our community, and I look forward to doing some great things. I'll close with this. Part of Balancing Life is we have 3 different entities. One of them is called Pearls of Wisdom. To date, we have honored and celebrated over 40 women in South Florida, between Miami-Dade County, Broward County, West Palm Beach, from doctors, lawyers, politicians, community leaders, accountants. We've literally searched out for them all. I truly believe that women we're underlooked a lot of the time. And it's okay. Sometimes you feel like, oh my God, no, it's not a woe is us. But what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it to make sure that we identify our voice, we are heard, and we teach other women to identify their voices and how to vocalize what is necessary at the right time.
All right.
So if someone wanted to learn a bit more about your nonprofit, where would they find out?
So I am extremely big on social media. Like, that's my thing. I think I have somewhat of a gift, if you will. You can go to Instagram at Balancing Life Now. You will see everything that we've done in the past. You would see some of our programs. You would definitely see some of the women that we've honored, and some details about our vision and our mission.
That's great.
And if you want to see Naomi in person, I believe she is going to be at the conference, GWE.
I guess so.
Yes.
So, thank you for the invitation.
Yes.
Okay, Laura?
Well,
Now that we talked about the conference, remember it's on March 2nd, and we definitely want to see you there. And you can find us at gwenrichment.com. See you soon.